On a hot summer night, would you offer your throat to the wolf with the red roses?
Will he offer me his mouth?
Yes.
Will he offer me his teeth?
Yes.
Will he offer me his jaws?
Yes.
Will he offer me his hunger?
Yes.
Again, will he offer me his hunger?
Yes.
And will he starve without me?
Yes.
And does he love me?
Yes.
Yes.
On a hot summer night, would you offer your throat to the wolf with the red roses?
Yes.
I bet you say that to all the boys. Hey everybody, Joe Lewis here, Battle Rankings Live. Welcome to another show. I am joined by my lovely and talented producer. Say hi, Ann.
I am.
Probably wondering why we did what we did. So that was Ann and I doing a read and
The dramatic read.
just dramatic read. I'm an actor. What is the who was doing the cover?
Actually, this is a cover, but it was not Meatloaf himself. It was a cover by Matthew Wilkinson.
Matthew Wilkinson.
Yeah, from YouTube. Just Google Matthew Wilkinson. You took the word right out of my mouth, and you will find it. I can always do the link too. I can make it.
Yeah, drop the link in the chat. It's good. Maybe get the gentleman a couple of views. But he actually did a pretty good cover.
Yes, he did a pretty good cover.
Played all the instruments himself.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about. We usually save this stuff to the end of the show, but since we opened up with it, the wolf with the red roses. Meatloaf passed away last week, Thursday. Even Louis Anderson passed away over the weekend.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
It's really sad.
By the way, I was thinking about like Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
Oh, red pill or blue pill? I don't. I don't know. And then Hardy Kruger. How do you say his last name? With the umlaut above it. You don't see it on there?
Okay.
Yeah.
Howdy, Kruger.
Kruger. Now, by the way, blonde, blue eyes, perfect. German. He did a lot of. They needed a German somewhere. He was it.
He was the German.
Yeah, and the other thing too is he was in The Flight of the Phoenix, which was a fantastic movie, 1966. Have you seen that? I'm sure you have.
I might have, I don't remember.
Had Jimmy Stewart, Boris. He was in. He did a lot. So if you see a war movie from, late 50s, 60s, kind of 70s. There's a couple other things too. With there was something with geese with Roger Moore and a couple other people. It was like they were trying to save some guy that was the elected president of some African nation that gets overthrown, and they go and save him. So I mean, a ton of movies. But anyway, so so it's just kind of I know that it happens in threes. So anyway,
Michelson using the Wehrmacht and the SS in costume.
oh well, actually, he was old enough to actually be in the Hitler Youth.
Really?
Yeah. Well, but all the boys did it.
Yeah, all the boys had to be in it. It was compulsory. Everybody had to do it. Whether they wanted to.
Well, it was kind of maybe the end thing in Germany at the time, whatever. Hey, speaking of which, if you like what we're doing here and everything else, we have a bunch of videos up on YouTube because we were able to organize it on YouTube. So this episode and everything else, you can see all the mission episodes that we're going to do, like today's Outflanked. Books, rules, all that wonderful stuff. It's there. It's organized. You can go there and take a look. Team Yankee, Flames of War. It's there, and that's what we talk about. And like laser focus is pretty much that's what we do. And that's why we have the size of the audience we do have. Which is, anyway. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my SME in. And who's going to be discussing Outflanked with us. Let's welcome Jake Meyer. How you doing, Jake?
Hi, just grand, Joe. How are you?
Fantastic. Look, being in Texas, Brian last week sent me a list of a bunch of stuff that's going to happen in Texas, which is pretty cool. It's nice to see Texas picking it up.
Yeah, Brian put a lot of work into that, so we really appreciate Brian and Carl Bellotti also.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because I know Carl's running. Is Brian running some of those too?
Brian worked on getting everything organized to try to communicate it. We had a bunch of smaller events that really wasn't getting the word out. It was just kind of a small group together, and several stores that wanted to support the hobby, but I think those two worked together, organized it, made sure we didn't have anything overlapping. I mean, just like 2 weeks ago, we hadn't had a tournament in 4 months, and then we had two of them scheduled on the same day. That week, we were unfortunate we couldn't support both of them. So, for getting ourselves organized, trying to make it predictable and spread the love among many stores rather than just live at one.
Is mine? Is mine weaker? Actually, bring the volume up on my mic. Or actually, do the master. Yeah. The red one's all the way inside. No. Bring it up like.
There you go. You're getting stronger.
Yeah. Yeah. How's that?
I can hear you just fine now.
All right. There we go. We'll have to start over again and read the Red Wolf thing. No, I'm just kidding. Let's talk. So this weekend is Las Vegas Open, which, Jake, I believe you're going to.
Yeah, first time, and since I guess I was at the last one. It's just been a couple years. So
yeah, nothing like when COVID broke out and everyone was trying to figure it out. Nothing like being in Las Vegas for the Las Vegas Open during Chinese New Year.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Anyway. Yeah, actually, when I did come back, I did catch something. I thought it was what we call a concrud. I just thought it was some concrud I picked up. But yeah, I was pretty sick, and I got better. So the Las Vegas Open. We got the team. Are you doing Team Yankee?
I am. Bringing down the points sucked me back in, so I'm signed up.
What are you running?
I'm running West Germans with Iraqi allies.
Okay.
Yep. So,
yeah.
What I wanted to run last time I wanted to run this army, but our bag did not make it. So we had Coaches and I lost about a half army each on the way there, so we had to cobble something together for Team Yankee. So this year, I'm bringing it back. 70-point version.
Okay. I remember that. Did you ever get your bag back?
No, we never did. Coaches got a nice insurance settlement and replaced everything, but the bag itself, who knows where it ended up.
Right now, you know what it's doing? It's doing endless loops through the Denver airport.
Yeah, we'll show up in Vegas and it's still there and just dusty in a corner.
All right, and then for the late war 110, what are you running?
I am bringing the entire Finnish Panzer Division.
What's that, like 3 tanks?
That is 49 T-26s and 9 T-34-85s.
Okay.
Yep. And that's it. Keep it simple. Only 2 cards needed.
Oh, wow. How many platoons is that?
It's 4 formations of 3 or 4 platoons per formation.
Okay, and the little tank, is that a 111? And
It is a 111. It's got an AT-7 gun. It is overworked and a tactical of 8 inches. But they are fearless veteran. That's you know my mid-war hate. It's like if you can't beat them, join them.
Sure.
So
and the bigger tank.
That's the T-34-85. All the regular stats, but fearless vet.
All right. Yeah. So it's a 12. How many of those?
9 of those. That's the maximum number I could find that they actually captured. I don't think they actually used all of them, but if they had used them, this is the maximum number.
There you go. Wow. All right. Well, actually, that kind of sounds like fun.
The tank cost is the same as an infantry stand. If I looked at it like, would I rather have an infantry stand or a tank? I've been playing some Hearts of Iron 4, so the idea of like the armored space marine is that's my infantry in tin cans.
Okay, makes sense. I know. It makes sense, and we'll see how that plays. You're gonna have to let us know how you do.
Oh, it's going to be a complete cluster, but it'll be a fun cluster.
Yeah, I heard someone see with the Charlie Foxtrot. I heard someone call it that way too.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see lots of like chaffies and low armor things like that have been kind of dominating the meta. I am afraid that a bunch of Shermans are going to show up, and the Sherman might as well be a King Tiger versus my army. So we'll see how it goes. Luck of the draw.
Well, it's funny you should mention that. Hold on, let me see if we can get it here. You mean like these Shermans right here?
Yeah, I kind of had taken it for granted for so long that nobody ran the Shermans, but then the book came out and now they're in vogue again. So we'll see. I'm hoping the Chaffee is a more popular option.
Actually, the list I was going to take was British. British recon with the 8 Achilles, 2 Churchills, and then a formation of Chaffies.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting game. You had the trained ones, right?
Oh yeah.
I can chew up Chaffies pretty well, but the Achilles would be the front armor of 5. That's about the problem point for me.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that anyway, it would have been interesting, but your rate of fire is ridiculous. So anyway, but all right, cool. We did add a couple things to it. So February is kind of filling up. So 19th looks very popular for strange reason. Arkansas, Minnesota, Delaware, and Ohio. And then the 26th is Houston, or people from New York would say Houston. The Forge Hobbies and Games, so that's a Mid-War 105. Then Game Time Adventures, their CincyCon was canceled, Game Table Adventures picked up, so that's where that moved. Same dates, same format. Also on the 5th, Coast Con was in Biloxi, Mississippi. They're doing an Adepticon warm-up, Mid-War 105, 3 rounds. And then there's the March 12th, 13th Hard Knocks Games doing Wolf Creek. They've been doing that for many, many years, probably like 10 now, easily. Elizabethtown, they're doing a late war 100, 5 rounds between the 2 days, a straight red and blue. I am signed up, and
Yeah, I am as well.
Maybe these Shermans might make it to that.
I am very disappointed that the German book isn't scheduled to come out until after that.
Yeah.
Pretty excited for that new German book.
We kind of wish the two were inverted, the North Africa and the German book, but so they made that schedule.
It is what it is.
And then there's Adepticon for those who want to go. And then Cardboard Corner Cafe, that's in Kansas. That's a Mid-War 110.
With some restrictions. Our friend Alex Monteleone is putting that on, so might make it up to that one as well.
I'm thinking about it. He was bugging me about going. The thing is, anyway.
Yeah, he used to be from here in Austin and moved a couple years back, so it'd be nice to see him again.
Rick's Cards and Games in Clarksville, Tennessee. They're doing a Team Yankee, 90 points, red and blue. And then you have a Third Coast Games. It's down there in Texas. That's in the Team Yankee. And then Rocky Top Game Con in Knoxville, Tennessee on May 28th. They're going to late war 110. They're doing three rounds, and red versus blue. I'll see if they actually can pull off the red versus blue. I don't know. It's a little hard with the con because people register with the con and it just all of a sudden show up with the ticket. And then I stopped here for the end of June. June 25th, the Fat Ogre. Gotta love it, the Fat Ogre.
Yeah.
Spring, Texas. It's a late war, and I think they just want to one-up everybody. They did 111 3.
They obviously have to be a little bit different with a name like that.
Well, it's an ogre. Me, always best. All right. So let's. So you're here. Let's talk about Outflanked. I'll pull up the.
All right, so this is one of the newer missions, kind of the expanded pack. Had an opportunity to play it a couple times. Every time I've played it, I've been the attacker, and I've always been glad that I've been the attacker. The kind of the hook, the little bit difference of this is that the defender's deployment zone is extended an additional 4 inches into no man's land, and that the objective can be deployed all the way up to that edge of the deployment area. The defender is 40% off. They have an ambush, but no minefields. They do have immediate reserves, but their immediate reserves come in the corner that the defender selects. It's within 16 inches of that back corner. And that plays a big factor in how the mission plays, I've found. Also, the defender does not have any spearhead move, so there's no way for them to stop the attacker from moving their recon into the no man's land, which really just makes no man's land a deployment area for the attacker and really the most likely place that the attacker is going to push from, because that objective is going to be just 16 inches away. Another key point is that it's not live until turn 6, so while the attacker can rush that objective, they still can't win the game until the beginning of the 6th turn.
Talking about it, looks like you got the objective placement.
Yeah, the larger deployment, the expanded deployment zone gives a lot wider area. The missions that play in the table corners, one of the biggest advantages the defender has if both objectives are in that table corner is that they're so close together. 8 inches from all sides typically means that the objectives are only 12 inches apart or so. Since the objective zone for outflanked can go all the way to that 4-inch plus line in the middle of the table, that means you can get a good 20-ish inches between the objective, 16 to 20 or so. I recommend always putting them the maximum distance apart, either in the position I have marked in red here or possibly switched. But I think it's pretty much unless the terrain makes something completely unreasonable, I think you always want to deploy them in these positions. It's kind of one of those no thinking this is where the objectives are going to go unless the terrain is really funky. I would put the right objective closer to your deployment area. That way it's 24 inches away from where you deploy. And then with recon, that second objective right there on the 4-inch line, that's going to be 16 inches from where your recon troops are up there. Now, this mission plays extremely differently if you do not have recon. I feel like if your army is going to take an aggressive stance most of the time, that recon is essential. If you're going to defend, I sometimes leave recon at home on those. But if you're going to attack, this is the kind of mission that you have to have recon. Recon makes your life 10 times easier in this type of mission. So for this mission, and there maybe a gauntlet and a couple other ones, the recon pays for itself whenever you have these. Even if 2 out of your 3 games, it doesn't do anything. If you have recon in this one mission, the recon's going to pay for itself. It doesn't have to be expensive recon, a 1 or 2 point recon, just something to get that deployment. I then typically run it behind some trees and it sits out the rest of the game. It's just there for that spearhead. I'm not going to give my opponents free points with it. Well, I tell myself I'm not going to do that, but then things get desperate, and before you know it, my Lukes are out there charging into the enemy infantry. But that's just a bad habit on my part. So one thing I resolve every year is like, I'm not going to get my recon killed today. I'm just going to run and hide, and I'm not going to risk it, especially in Flames of War when they have terrible last stand and morale rolls. It's just one shot and it's gone because you have to roll 5 after 5 after 5 to keep it around. So yeah, recon, just say no to risking them and using them as a tank.
Yeah, especially that 8 rads in older versions were awesome.
Yeah, well, the Pumas, I love the Puma, but especially Puma with Von Socken. I think of all the ways that I can do that, but it's just it never ends up well because 1, the bad cross check, and 2, that morale. All you have to do is get one lucky hit on them, take out one with an artillery piece, and you're going to start bleeding points. So
I played a game against a guy that just had all Pumas, and everything. And between my martyrs and my ambush with my Pac 40s, and he's like, he's thinking, haha, no big deal, you'll blow away 2 platoons.
Oh, like, that's the one time you split fire, right?
I go, this gun, this platoon, this gun, this platoon. And I'm like, and all of a sudden it's like, instead of him thinking that there's going to be 2 platoons gone, I think there was like 6 or 7. I was like, poof.
Yeah. All I got to do is bail 1, and they're probably going to leave.
Yeah, that's unfortunately the thing about them. And the thing is, I got so many models, especially the Pumas too. The Pumas and the 238 or 231s, and
yeah. And I'm waiting for the Pac 40 version to come out. That was one of my favorite units in version 3. But it's going to be hard to fit them in.
Yeah. Okay, move next slide, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
So deployment, here I've kind of marked why you want to attack from that no man's land. As you can recon yourself out there, even a modest recon of 10 or 12 inches moves will put you right up there against that 16-inch line. That 16-inch line is really determining where you're deploying more so than the recon itself, because you have that zone around the recon, and you just need to have a part of your model within that recon area. So you've got quite a bit of area that you can deploy your guys 16 inches from the objective. You've got the first turn as the attacker, and you can go. I believe I refer to this as the hideously vulnerable objective because it's right on the edge. You can't forward deploy. You're either deploying on top of the objective where one good assault can push you off, or you're deploying in the terrain around it. If there's not a terrain feature close by in this area, you can really be limited on where your ambush can be popped. So I think it's obvious for the attacker to go after that one. Now, the second objective is still only 24 inches from your objective. I strongly recommend not putting 100% of your troops out there in no man's land. I would put the preponderance of your force out there, but I think since the other objective is so far away that it's important that you at least threaten that objective, maybe with some second tier unit, in order to pin down defenders and to keep them from focusing all of their defenses on that far objective. Another thing that makes this objective hideously vulnerable is the reserves come in the maximum distance away from here. 16 inches from that objective, they're a good 20 inches off. If you take the hypotenuse there, it's probably 24, 25 inches away from the objective. And it can be a turn or two before they can even come in and contest, much less if they're moving every time out. Where if you attack that closer objective, one of the keys to the defender is trying to get them to attack that closer objective because your reserves are coming in 8 inches away and can be on the objective the turn that they come on from the board. So the attacker, I focus that far one, threaten the close, and the defender try to bait your opponent into attacking that objective in the middle of your deployment area. The ambush becomes easier, your reserves are in the right place, and you can attack from the second objective by sending forces over there, and really you have a lot better chance of defending that one than the far one. So I think the deployment is also kind of writes itself on this. If you have recon, you want to be on top of that far objective as soon as possible. You can't win until turn 6, so you don't need to be crazy. You don't need to bonsai yourself in there, but a measured attack, threaten your opponent quickly, so in order try to get them to force that ambush. It's much easier to deal with the ambush weapons before the reserves. I always feel like if I can force my opponent to pop their ambush before the reserves come on, that it gives me a turn or two to focus on the ambush itself before I have to worry about the reserves. I think the ambush is most effective on turns that you have a high probability of getting reserves. If you can make it till turn 3 to pop that ambush, then you are presenting multiple targets for return fire, and therefore it's one unit's ignored and one unit's focused on, and so that you're essentially your quantity is a form of armor in and of itself. Really the best armor is being like the second most dangerous unit at any time, because they just don't get shot at, and the reserves and the ambush at the same time, that makes one of those teams is just not going to be shot at, and if you're not shot at, you can't get unlucky and lose models.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Next slide.
Yep. All right, just this is kind of an overview of the attacker. Again, I recommend maximizing the distance between the objectives, terrain permitting. Again, great mission for recon. It's much easier with the recon because it gives you a lot of missions. You get maybe an extra 4 inches or absolutely nothing with the recon. This one, you can save yourself 20 inches or so on movement. Essentially, you're on turn 3 when you open the game where you're moving. Keep in mind where the defender's reserves come on. They're furthest from that vulnerable objective out there in the middle. I would focus resources on it, but again, don't necessarily need to be reckless. You can't win before 6, so I'm waiting until the top of 5 to really push it. Hold for the bottom of 5, and if I'm pushed off, I counter attack and push the opponent off of it on turn 6. I mean, I'm really setting myself up for that turn 6. The first 5 turns is just preparation for that turn 6 where I can actually win the game. I would try to bait or force that by moving aggressively. That first turn, I especially against veteran forces, I'm not really worried about getting myself best shots. I'm I'm taking a position. The chances of hitting on the move versus gone to ground and dug in concealed forces is so low that it's really not worth maximizing your shots. I'd rather use that first turn to position my guys for subsequent turns once the defender has revealed themselves and return fire is in greater quantity and lower numbers needed to hit. So I'm positioning myself that first turn for the follow-up turn. Hopefully force that ambush by moving so aggressively the first turn that it comes out on turn 1. So that's 2 turns before guaranteed reserves on 3. It gives me time to deal with the ambush and defeat the opponent in piecemeal. And again, I would never load 100% up. I would put some kind of secondary unit or some force in being to contest and make sure that your opponent cannot completely abandon the back objective. Something that can make them think about moving that infantry group off of it or completely abandoning it with their tanks. Something to that effect. That unit may never kill anything, but it'll pay for itself by tying down a unit.
Yeah,
so,
we call that keeping them honest.
Yeah. Too often do I see, especially with veteran forces, when you don't have a whole lot of just actual models, your opponent goes 100% at one objective. I think one of the keys to defending is if your opponent doesn't threaten the second objective, you don't wait. You start moving your troops towards the contested one right away. You just, with only 60% of your force on there, you can't afford to have a infantry unit sitting there and doing nothing for an objective that's not even being contested by your opponent. Move them. I mean, infantry that are being shot at are better than living infantry that are just sitting off in a far corner of the table. Too many times I play against an opponent where they essentially forget about 20% of their army because it's not in the immediate area of threat, where if they start moving them right away, those things can have an impact on the game. It might be 2 or 3 turns later, but again, you got to maximize the use out of all of your guys to have the best chance of winning.
Yeah, march to the sound of the guns.
Yeah. Too many people are sitting in an acoustic echo and just ignore the fighting going on just on the other side. Right. So yeah, that's one of the real sins of Flames of War. Let's take a look at it from the defender.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So the defender, I realize that that far objective is the primary one, and I'm going to over deploy on that. I'm not going to defend the 2 objectives equally. I'm going to strongly dissuade my opponent from pushing that. If that means I have to intentionally leave that close objective weak, I mean, maybe leave it completely uncovered, maybe leave it with only one small weak unit there. I would rather my opponent attack that objective, sit on it on turn 2 or 3, and then allow me 3 or 4 turns to counterattack onto that objective than to push that far one. That far one, whatever troops you put on that far one, they're going to have to fight and hold that objective for 3 or 4 turns themselves before your reserves make it to that area to further contest the objective. I'm very happy if I can bait my opponent into attacking that close one, and well, I know it's going to be a tougher road if they're attacking the far objective. The positioning of the 2 is just offers such greater advantages to defend the inside one. The outside one is just it's going to be a hard road ahead, no matter how well you deploy your guys. Why don't you go ahead and switch to the next one, and let me show you why I believe trying to bait them to attack that close objective. It provides, essentially, you've got 360 degrees around it. You have a much wider area in order to pop your ambush to maximize your shots. Again, I'm trying to hold my ambush for as long as possible, let them get right up on top of that objective. I know it's hard to let the opponent sit on the objective or take the objective on turn 2 or 3 because you feel like you're losing the game, but letting them expose themselves by taking that objective and then having a strong ambush, maximum shots at short range, having your reserves come in 8 inches away right on top of the objective, as well as if I can get them to commit most of their resources on that close objective, I can also send my my far objective defenders on, and essentially they're going to be pincered at that point from the reserves practically coming in their rear, the ambush to their front or sides, and the defenders coming in from the other objective. You can put a lot of resources. You can clamp down on what it looks like an open objective very quickly, and just through attrition, you can really push that objective back. I feel like my reserves alone are enough to push my opponent off the objective if I can sufficiently weaken him. So again, that's my suggestion for defending on this is try to bait your opponent into attacking that close one. That the far objective, your reserves take longer, your ambush is more limited, and your defender reserves from your weaker objective aren't going to be as impactful. So I struggled on the defender one. I would, like I said, I'd much rather be the attacker on this mission. I've had a lot of success attacking that no man's land corner, because one big advantage the defender typically has is that their deployment area extends in front of the deployment zone, and so you can forward deploy. That your opponent's going to have to take 2 or 3 good assaults in order to push you off of that objective. But if you only can deploy right on top of it, it's possible that one assault is pushing you out of contesting range right away. So I don't like that objective right on the edge, 16 inches away from my opponents. That's just going to be a tough situation.
Right.
Yep. And the next page, it just kind of an overview. If the attacker does not have recon, then throw everything I just said out the window. There really isn't a whole lot of advantage to attacking that far objective if your opponent doesn't have recon. It's actually further away than the second one. So if it plays much more as a typical mission, corner defense mission if the attacker does not have recon. So I would check when I do my deployment. I am definitely interested in whether my opponent has recon and deploy accordingly. I over deploy that center line objective, try to bait my opponent to attack the others. I count on my reserves to handle that back objective. It may not appear to be a lot of resources on it, but your 40% from reserves are coming in right on top of it. And it's very likely if you have a couple large units in reserve that those units will all come on before the attacker can win the mission. You don't have to contest it on turn 3 or 4. You've got until turn 6 in order to bring those reserves on. Also, you can forward defend with infantry on that objective. You can put your guys a good 6 inches, 8 inches ahead of it. I found most players are unwilling to completely bypass infantry in their front to go around to the objective. They will assault into that infantry, especially if there's a good terrain feature for them. I recommend holding the ambush as long as possible. The threat of the ambush is an effective weapon in and of itself, and making your opponent be more cautious. Once my opponent drops its ambush, yeah, it's short-term pain, but it's really a relief that I no longer have to worry about it coming in from all angles. And if you can wait until your reserves have a good chance of coming on, if you can wait until turn 3, you know that you can present multiple threats at one time, and one of your units is going to avoid some fire that's being directed at the other. If your opponent does load up and completely go after that edge objective, if your opponent loads up on one or the other, start moving resources turn 1. Don't wait until your reserves come on. Infantry are slow enough that you need to start moving them. You need to think several turns in advance. If your troops from the far objective are going to get in the game and have an impact, they need to start moving on turn 1 when the attacker telegraphs their intent. And don't panic. It's okay if the attacker is sitting on an objective on turn 2 or 3, as you have time to take it back. And typically when an attacker is that aggressive, they leave themselves in a vulnerable position. I think in LVO last year, I was playing a tank destroyer force against a Soviet Churchill company. And on turn 2, he had like 24 Churchills parked on the objective. And rather than stay and fight at close range, I took the next 3 turns to whittle down the number of Churchills. I again, didn't panic. I knew that I could weaken him before I sent in the troops to contest. And by time turn 6 came around, it was just 1 or 2 Churchills left, and I was able to easily contest it and prevent my opponent from taking the objective. So again, don't panic. You've got time. Know that the attacker can't win until turn 6, and use that time effectively. You plan your counterattack, plan several turns in ahead, and whittle them down through attrition before you commit yourself to recontesting the objective.
Excellent. Well, so I'm going to throw back the map. So I played this a couple times. There you go. Pretty much kind of setting up the same way. I think I've been the attacker each time, and this objective always, you're assaulting. You're setting up your assault by turn 3, and just slamming in there. And I've noticed that, they're turn 3 and 4. They're trying to get back, and and then if you're messing around over here, you have something little that just you can't abandon it. I think the infantry over here is just getting slammed by the time, like say if you're doing Germans, by the time the Tigers roll around, because that's what usually it is. You're set up here for taking out whatever's coming up, and then I know one thing I do with my recon, and this is why I always get it shot up. I'm always trying to take out the after getting me there. I try to push back the ambush as much as possible with my recon, which then ends up being the target.
Oh, if you can get your opponent to pop on your recon, that's a victory.
Yeah, it is. It's like, okay, the unknown factor is gone. You took a pawn. Now I'm going to take your rook. So.
Yeah. Well, the recon, since in the most current version, they really don't have a better ability to root out that ambush. Back in version 3, they had an additional 4 inches or so to push
like
back
inches.
ambush. 8 inches instead of the normal 4. Here, since they don't have that advantage, typically I'm sending in other units as well. I'm attacking on the wide front onto that objective early on to try to eliminate as many ambush sites as normal as I possibly can. I'm also probably attacking along this center line as well from the long deployment area to eliminate ambush areas along that front edge there. So again, pushing into that area, they're going to find that their ambush area shrinks very, very quickly. That's why I think this mission, you can pretty easily bait that ambush out on the first turn by moving aggressively on the attacker's first turn, dashing rather or moving tactically, not worrying about setting up shots, but moving aggressively so that your opponent has to drop that ambush on turn 1, or otherwise they're not going to be able to have an advantageous position that can really help and contest that objective. And if I can get my opponent to drop that ambush early and deal with that ambush before the reserves come on, that's one thing at a time, defeat and piecemeal.
Yeah, there's also the other thing you can really kind of screw over the ambush is dropping smoke right in front of your line.
Now, my strategy tends to be to bring so much garbage that I don't have any high value targets, rather than protect my troops' lives. That may just be my general callousness, but
you mean like a whole bunch of Finnish?
Yeah, just imagine Finnish tanks hull to hull along that front there, and if they pop the ambush and they kill 4 of them, well, there's only 45 more of them.
By the way, who painted those?
I got coaches to do it. Insult to injury on that one. I think he was considering taking those to, was it Masters that was mid-war and had required the different list. So I wisely offered him the use of my T-26s. I know he was just being a nice guy and helping me out, but I offered him the use of my T-26s if he painted them. He ended up, I don't think he even ended up going, or if he did, he took a different army or whatever. But I do have a bunch of very nicely painted T-26s, so he's a good guy.
He declined.
Yeah. So I know he wanted to go. He called me up as soon as you did announced the rules, and like, how can we break this? It's like, Brian, you're a terrible person, and yeah, we thought, well, we could take the same stupid German army just with a different group of allies every time. How about fin tanks? So yeah, you were it's probably for the best for the rest of you, but yeah, I know he wanted to go.
Yeah. No, I actually, I thought about the same thing. Uh, you know, and I just took something where I'm like, I need to finish the Russians, so let me do the Russians. That was, whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think also you were talking about this objective here. Um, you know what? This is actually a good reason to have two recon units. The one to get to the spearhead, the other one to get you a bigger bubble.
I thought you could no longer do that.
Okay? You can. You just can't spear. You can't move. So what you do is in 8 inches, you
Oh,
put
I got you.
recon, and that recon unit puts another 8 inch bubble out.
I got you.
So that is it's actually it's kind of weird worded in the book, and it's in lessons the front. Um, yeah, they actually kind of talk about it. It kind of refers to it, but you have to read between the lines to figure it out. But the lessons the front clears it up.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's that one, and there's a couple other ones where, what Spear Point is another one where that's like, just all of a sudden, if you have the first turn, you could be right on top of the objective.
Mm-hmm.
Which is and the thing is, you move your one recon unit out, and then you do the bubble thing, and then I've been playing a lot of recon units, and all of a sudden like bubble, 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 and
Yeah.
then army just right there, and
Yeah.
your opponent's like, what the heck?
I had an opponent. There was the mission where the attacker has a U on their side, and the opponent is in kind of the bridgehead area in the middle, but you can recon up the far flanks. You got like a 4-inch corridor that you can recon up and back and forth. So my opponent, to stop my recon from going too far on that, dropped one minefield to end that corridor. But then you can recon your guys right up to the minefield, and then drop a second recon unit on the other side of the minefield and deploy all of your guys on the opposite side. The shenanigans are available if you have multiple recon.
Are you calling shenanigans?
Shenanigans. I mean, the game's all about shenanigans. I'm personally of the school that this is a game, and that the rule, you should maximize what you can do under the rules, as opposed to some people who think like, oh, these little guys are alive, and how would they realistically act if we had an Indian in the cupboard scenario here. I pat myself on the back when I recon onto the opposite side of a minefield, whereas my opponents tell me what a terrible person I am. So that's the way I approach the game, though. I see this as a game, not as a simulation.
But recon wins games.
And recon does win games.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the Indian cabinet, that's a great reference.
Yeah, the cupboard, I believe.
Cupboard. Yeah.
Indian in the cover.
Indian
Yeah.
cupboard. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I could just imagine what my little Germans would say to me. Yeah, if they came alive there.
Yeah, goose stepping through that little house there.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's pretty normal. And then if you're doing it in Team Yankee, you're gonna have more than one recon unit. Yeah, that's just silliness. Okay, yeah, I'm digging it. I'm thinking, this one's probably a little bit rougher for the defender, especially since you're gonna have to be right here. And by the way, if you have like an American opponent that has multiple bombardment templates, and all of a sudden you just line them up right around this thing. I mean, turn one, you're just getting bombarded.
I've had a lot of fun with the Greyhound troops with the little 60mm mortar, where you can drop 6 templates. I know it's a single gun rerolls, but against hitting on 3 troops, it's devastating there. So you can definitely make that a little area of hate because it's they have such a limited area that they can deploy around it.
Yeah, and then like a lot of German infantry like to take like the 116 or something like that. Yeah, this is you know this is where you make them pay for it. Well,
Yeah, that counterattack. Yeah, the Germans, the infantry themselves, they have a tough time, especially if you're taking small units. Killing 3 or 4 stands can take you out, and I'm finding the single Panzerfaust is inadequate to push back veteran tanks, uh, or even 2 or 3 Panzerfaust in close proximity. Just don't provide the chance of hitting needed to push back assaults, and they're getting rolled without that counter ability to counterattack. They're losing troops and losing ground way too easily. So I agree. Typically, those forces tend to have some gun emplacements or a lot of half track or martyrs, things like that to back them up. Those units have a bit more staying power, but again, if you get into a brawl with those units, they just don't have the armor to stand up. And like you said, if Germans tend to have Tigers in reserve, well, if you can win that, if you can dominate the position before the Tigers arrive, then all the better.
all the better. All right. Let's see here. We got any? Let's see here. If anything else.
Any questions, guys?
Yeah. Any questions on that? Got anything? I know we have a few people on. We probably have I don't know, a lot of people going to LVO or something, or everyone is satiated with their questions.
I know some of our Texans are headed out already to LVO.
Yeah. I know there's a bunch of people that watch the show are heading to LVO. So I know they'll catch it on YouTube. Later when they get back. It's probably like they got a little string on their finger. What's that for? Well, that
No.
you gotta watch Battle Rankings live.
Well, you didn't have any like cliffhangers that you ended on like last time, so people would tune in.
Yeah.
You should antagonize someone every week, and then they have to tune in the next week to see how did it turn out.
Oh yeah.
That'll be your hook.
I was telling Ann, I'm like, oh man, bad press is good press.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, if it bleeds, it leads.
I'm sure a lot of people giving you hell had no idea the show existed before.
Oh well, yeah, that's right. We got our word out, and the good news is I don't care. It's well. One of the things that a lot of the people that are complaining, they don't play tournaments.
Yeah.
And they haven't told you personally.
Oh well, yeah.
No one's contacted you.
Yeah, no one's came to me and like, hey Joe, what the hell's going on? And I would answer. If they politely asked what was going on, I would politely answer back. But the truth be told, about once, twice a day, someone will come out where they actually finally watched that episode, and then will send me a text or poke me through something and say, oh, by the way, I watched the show. Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm like, okay, it seems like the people that agree are contacting me, and those who don't like it are going to Battlefront or something like that.
Facebook, yeah.
Or going to Facebook, being like a bunch of Karens.
Well, I know the common thread in all of our discussions in Texas was that we really appreciate everything you do for the game, and we don't take that for granted. So we're happy everything was resolved satisfactorily, and we thanks for all the things you continue to do for the hobby.
Oh, you're welcome, and
we appreciate you guys.
yeah, I mean, truth be told, I could have burned it all down.
that was discussed too.
And the thing is, Battlefront didn't want it burned down.
Mm-hmm.
I had well over 4 hours of conversation, not all once, but through.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys are great.
Oh yeah, they were great.
They really are nice guys, and you know.
And we went off tangent a bunch of
And
times.
that's, and I kinda
You
wonder,
off tangent? No.
talking to
No,
each
they
other.
did. I mean, yeah.
Oh, they did. Yeah.
I'll go there too. So yeah, off tangent. Yeah. Um. You know. There's one image that I'm trying to I can't get out of my head. I just trying to get it where one of them was talking about when he was in his home country. I'm kind of narrow it down. Won't name names, but he was talking about when he was a young lad working on the farm. Okay, and where the harpers were, the hoppers,
Mhm.
where they would put the grain and stuff in. He was a young man, and he was buff and just like I was saying shorts, and he's sitting there with like a pitchfork or a shovel, and just making sure that the hopper didn't get
Clogged.
yeah, clogged. So he's sitting there and working a shovel and in the hot glistening sun. I'm like, oh, that's quite some imagery there, guy.
Set it up for a while. No
Yeah,
payoff.
yeah, 19 years old, fit, got his
Well,
life
when you
all
were
from.
that age, weren't you like hauling around truck tires?
Well, actually, I was doing. I worked for a butcher,
You worked for Butcher.
and I was slinging meat. So Rocky.
Mhm.
Well, those
Hanging sides of
the
beef.
hanging sides of beef need to come
Yeah.
off the hooks and on the hooks. So there's a method of doing that, and basically it's like 150 pounds for a side. If it was quartered, have that 75 pounds, and so a truck would show up with all this meat, and you put a rail system into it, but the rail only went in maybe 3-4 feet, just enough to get in there, and so it's a 55-foot trailer. You start at the tail, you lift it up, and you put it on a hook, and then you slide the hook in, and then they bring another hook. Well, the thing is, I called it cattle killers, because you remember like in basketball you do a killer going back and forth. Well, the thing is that the meat, the next side of meat, the row would be going towards the nose of the trailer, right? So now you're walking long, a distance with basically 75 pounds because they were quartered, and then you'd walking your 75 pounds of just almost frozen, because they kept it at 33 degrees, almost frozen meat, and then put it on the hook, and then walk back, grab the next one, put it on on the hook. Yeah, I was in pretty good shape.
Yeah. Is that Peak Joe?
Yeah. You want to talk about guns? Yeah, I was. Yeah, and the thing is, I could have been a butcher.
No. You could have been a contender.
They were trying to recruit you to
Yeah, they wanted me to stay and be a butcher. I was just, I was doing that, and I would clean up, and then I would head off to class after in the morning. And it's one of those things that I would go do my first class at university, and I was up unloading a trailer, get clean, and I'd take an 8 o'clock class, right? I've been up for hours. I'm like, I'm good to go. Everyone's like having their first cup of coffee, and I'm like, hey, how's it going?
Oh, there's nothing worse than that guy, Joe.
Oh yeah, they're like, you die.
Somebody shoot this guy out.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, that was just kind of interesting.
And that was most of the 4 hours. You guys just trading stories like that.
Conversation, and by the way, it ties in stuff, and but it's conversations we were having, and it's all good and everything, and
Everybody's at peace. We're all friends now.
yeah.
Good to hear.
Well, they're like, they're like, we don't care what your beliefs are. Just count the points for us, please. And we were just talking about that. I'm like, man, anyway. So I don't want to rehash it, but and then I did get some feedback from other people because I don't hang out on Facebook. You know,
No.
oh good God, no, I need to stay sane. So I only look to see what's going on in a couple things and what's going on here.
I do more than I should. I should be writing.
Yeah, well, but so I got some feedback from some people about what's been going on and this, that, and the other, and I'm like, really? Are they not upset about whatever? That's okay, whatever.
I guess they got to care about what you think in order to be that upset.
I guess. Well, Jake, I'm an influencer.
Yeah, you're quite the maven.
Yeah,
Oh, please.
yeah. Basically, Joe Rogan, Joe Lewis.
Yeah,
It's the Joes.
the two Joes. We have to specify which Joe we're talking about.
Yeah. All right, Joe. Which one?
Which one, Rogan or Lewis?
Yeah.
I think there's a difference in market share.
Same business.
Just a little.
Just a little. just a little. But we're doing what we're doing, and then we're having fun.
And I think I gotta say, I think the guys who play the game are great guys. Everybody I think that Joe's introduced me to.
Yeah.
It's fun. And when you guys have tournaments in town, I like going out to dinner with you guys and just listening to the war stories.
Yeah.
As opposed to dungeon stories, the war stories.
The war stories. Yeah. No, I hang out with a good group. That it's different. I mean, it's not my work crowd, that's for sure. Joe's son.
This is the first time I've met Jake. Hi, Jake.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've met. Has he?
Oh yeah, he's been on.
He's been there, but for some reason I just don't. Yeah.
Okay, it's all right.
Sorry, my fault.
Yeah, I got Joe's son. You play Japanese? I'm like, yeah. Don't you want to win? I'm like, no, well, in version 3, I did very well with those Japanese. So, right now they're just sitting in foam somewhere, and I'm like, I don't want to break those guys out.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Is there a book or anything coming out in 4 that we could use them for?
Nothing announced, is there?
Next year?
Okay.
Yeah, it's and knowing how I the logistics side, who knows it. I'm just glad North America looks like it's going to hit their time schedule.
Yeah.
Are they printing in America? Where are they printing now?
Was it is it Malaysia that they're printing in?
I just happen to have an Italian book here.
Yep.
Gee whiz.
Say where they're printing?
It printed in. I don't know. Oh, it's on the back here. Printed, copyrighted.
Does it say product in New Zealand?
Well, it's designed in New Zealand.
No.
But you'd think it would print it somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, I know they have 5 more books on tap before they're going to get to early war, so I think a year might be pretty optimistic. Well, that's just Flames of War. Then throw in Team Yankee on top of that. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, they need some loving too. So.
Yeah. They don't have the most aggressive release schedule.
Yeah. Like Ann said, enjoy the food in Las Vegas. That's always good.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. I don't think anybody I'm going with is on a diet this time. So there's nothing worse than being in Las Vegas with someone on a diet.
Yeah. Specific food too.
Yeah. It had to be like no carb kind of stuff. Like, you're on a diet. I'm not on a diet. You can watch me eat. But yeah. Was slated for last year, right? So yeah, it's going to come out. I think Pete said it was going to come out in 2023. So we'll see. I think if it isn't in this current calendar year, I kind of like,
It is.
Yeah. More nebulous.
They said, Alex just said, well, I better hit it here so people can see it. Jake just missed sharing a 100-ounce steak.
Oh, yeah. It was the no carb diet, so we had to have like meat for every meal. So yeah, Alex and I split a big porterhouse at one of the. I'm not complaining. It was a great steak, but yeah, I'm looking forward to eating whatever we want, whenever we want.
Sure.
Yeah, I haven't been to the Rio before, though. I don't know what the restaurants are like over there. I know it's off the strip, so it might be a bit more limited in our choices. I think we had a good Korean barbecue not too far away from the Rio last time we were there. We had rented a car.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so yeah, we Ann and I and Ray have been to the Reno.
The Rio.
Rio.
Yeah.
Rio. R-I-O.
R-I-O. Rio.
Yeah, Rio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's where
Penn and Teller.
Penn and Teller was staying.
Yeah, we saw Penn and Teller there, and we also see. They have a mini golf there. Well, when we were there, it was Kiss themed.
Kiss me.
No.
Yes.
Kiss mini golf, and I got not one, not two, but 3 holes in one in sequence.
Oh, do they paint your face if you get 3 in a row?
Yeah. I go. I want to be like Chris. What's Chris's last name? I want to be the cat.
Oh, now I got to get that image out of my head.
Well, I think. Did we learn anything?
What did we learn today?
What did we learn today with our limited group here? I learned something. Shoot. Man,
We need to stop recon with smoke.
would stop recon with smoke?
No,
What?
stop an ambush with smoke.
Well, you can blunt an ambush with smoke. It's an option.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
one thing I learned today.
Yeah. Okay. Oh.
Jake said a lot.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of things we can learn from Jake. So.
Yeah. Brian asked, is there any idea if the Gurkhas will be in North Africa release, or is that a command card? Are they planning to re-release command cards?
As far as I understand, it is just straight reprints plus the mid-war monsters. I don't think that they're going to produce command cards or unit cards to go along with it, because I don't think they're putting anything new in. There might be a mid-war monster pack, or they might just put the cards in with the mid-war monsters.
Yeah. I thought other than mid-war monsters, which the cards would be in the thing, I didn't think there was anything new coming out. So, yeah, Gurkhas would be nice, since they were there and everything. Did you learn anything? Oh, you learned about smoke.
I learned about smoke.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
I'm not an army girl.
No, that's okay. You just,
I just support the army guys.
but you know what? And you do have your own opinion, and you are very free to express it at any time.
Okay, dear. Thank you.
Yes. There was Ann decided to chime in on a thread that ended up getting deleted.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
your first deleted thread?
A wonderful human being decided that it was me using my wife's sign on or something, and
We're not.
and yeah, it's like, what, she can't have her own opinion? I'm like, what? Anyway, when she was telling me this after the fact, I'm like, oh, good God. So, was it misogynist? What are we looking for? Sexist? I don't know. Whatever. It wasn't a good look. Crazy. But actually, yes, Brian. Probably no Gurkhas, but in V4, but we get TOG 2s and T14s. Yeah. I think I'd rather have the Gurkhas.
No. How do you feel like tournaments are going to handle the mid-war monsters? Think they're going to be a popular inclusion, or are most going to just disregard them?
I think I'm going to see newish TOs allow it and not no, and I'm thinking that your more veteran TOs will be going no mid-war monsters. I think we might be seeing that. You
Yeah.
know, or your purist. You know, like what is that Panzer II that has the armor of a tiger?
The Panzer II, like D or something like that, or E, 2E.
Well, this is interesting. The mid-war monster is the only thing that makes me care about mid-war. Oh, okay.
When it's the only new thing, I mean,
Well, that's true. You know, actually, mid-war is probably the most bland of there's no real specialty things. So if you add the mid-war, actually, you know what? Do mid-war monsters really unbalance mid-war that much?
I don't know yet.
We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
They really weren't obscenely broken previously, but I know they still weren't allowed in most events. I think we had a Masters one time when they were allowed, and had some shenanigans. It was like the Iron Man, I believe. We'd have mid-war monsters.
Yeah, I know. Brian was running around with Togs.
Yeah, he had British. I think he had a lot of boarhounds, is what he had.
Yeah, boarhounds and Togs.
Yeah, played against a Soviet player with like the KV-5 or KV-3 or whatever the big monster was.
Beast. Yeah.
Like 14 armor in mid-war.
Right. Yeah. We'll see. Well, the thing is, we don't know how they're pointed, and we don't know the other particulars on the card. Is this, we're just talking from past experience. They could be just fine. I don't know until we see them, because I'm not on the play testing. I don't play test. I'm not on the play test, so I only know it when it comes out in the store, and then I look at it. So, which by the way is probably the best way to do it, is because I know that way it's fresh to me. I know play testers when the books come out, they're like, this is so 6 months ago. They're not excited. No dice has points for the new.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Oh,
I mean,
usually the Italian tank cost 8. Is that the
P-41 or something?
Yeah.
Essentially, it's a Panzer III, I think.
Yeah, which sounds about the right for the points.
The points didn't seem to be too crazy one direction or another. Nothing really stood out to me. But again, it's the only thing new.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll see when the book comes out. We'll see how it plays. I'll play a couple tournaments. Who knows? Maybe it's all balanced and points wise, and it's like, oh, okay, no big deal. But they just seemed odd in place.
Seems like it would be a good opportunity to add some of the units that they did not originally put in the book, but
like Gurkhas.
Yeah, or I would like to see the M3 GMCs for the Americans. These.
Oh.
What were the American tank destroyers? Were they GMCs?
Oh yeah, right. Basically they were the half track with
the anti-tank gun on them.
Yeah. Oh, also this thing, the Jeep with the Dodge with the gun on the back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Remember those?
Nice. Because it was quasi there.
Yeah.
Plus, I got stupid models.
Yeah, I had an all M3 force, like M3 light tanks, M3 medium tanks, M3 gun carriers, M3 tank destroyers. Yeah, that's nice American and their numbering system.
Yeah. It would have been nice. Um, what's the okay cat doing? Okay,
He's falling around on the board. Come here, Sherman. He just jumps up on the board. And I'm sure he's gonna
well,
take
let's
the
see.
white clothes off.
What's we got back here? The mid-war monsters do give me a slight hope that we could see a game balance tank like the Chinu, the Japanese tank, and a heavy tank. Well, that would be interesting. Japanese mid-war monsters. Yeah, because that was one thing about I was saying earlier. I played Japanese, and it's like, oh yeah, I could take that tank. That ain't gonna be so good, you know. Yeah, it's
Hey, obsolescent tanks can be good if they're at the right point total. So
right.
I'm taking a bunch of T-26s in late war, so
Yeah.
I'm holding out hope.
Well, when you have in version 3, when they're like, you could bail them, but they still wouldn't be bailed.
They could fire defensive fire and participate in assaults all while bailed.
Yeah, and it's like so they were pointed crazy. You know, they're pointed right for the crazy rules, but yeah, but you couldn't take enough of them. And then when you ran up against a real tank, you know, even just a plain old Sherman or even a Lee, you know, a Lee would just pop, 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 you know. Which, by the way, I mean historically is right, but you know, but maybe a heavy tank number 6 or something like that would be nice for the Japanese. Plus, the other thing too, it has a bigger surface to paint on, and they have a really cool camo. I did all my Japanese in that really cool camo. It took me forever, and but you know, more surface gives you better. You know, it's like the French tanks. You know,
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
I was about to say those in the early war French. Those are kind of my favorite camo patterns. I
Yeah.
like the early war armies.
So yeah, bigger the model, better the you could show off the paint. So especially when you're dealing with 15 mil.
I think your microphone finally got pushed in all the way there.
Oh, is it too high?
Is it too high or too
Yeah,
low?
like you just went up like 10 decibels on me.
Oh, sorry.
No, go up, right.
Up.
Yeah, right there.
Okay.
No, both red at the same time. It's left and right.
Both of them?
Yeah. How's this?
Yep, all good.
Okay, yeah,
Yes, the cat knocked it.
the cat jumped on.
I think the cat fixed it this time.
Yeah.
No, I pushed it. I'm right next to the board, but the cat likes to jump up there because there's a cut set of headphones that has a cord, and he wants to play with the cord. No, Sherman, don't do that.
Yeah,
It's like batting at it.
we have a
Heard its name.
I would say a professional, but maybe a smaller size church type of soundboard. You know, you know, something,
Sliders and all.
huh?
Sliders.
Yeah, some sliders. Yeah,
Oh, nice.
and the cat gets on them and they slide. So
That's what sliders do.
yeah, how many mics is that? 6 mics?
Yes.
Yes,
It's a 6 mic.
six mic input.
We have 3 hooked up right now.
Yeah, 3. So we're figuring it out. And then I got my multi-camera.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, and I'm planning. I want to get
his own money, by the way.
yeah. You know, but once again,
Writing off his business expenses, right?
no. Yeah. Oh,
He does it for fun.
yeah. I do this for fun, but don't get me going on taxes. I just figured it out. And, whoa.
Wow,
Whoa.
you are on the ball.
Let's put it this way: I'm going to be running a hefty check.
Yeah, I sold my house this year. I'm afraid to look yet.
Did you buy a new house?
Nope. Just I'm waiting for everything to fall apart. So I'm rooting against all of you.
Yeah. We were looking in our neighborhood.
We bought this one for what, 160?
Yeah, and well, something like that. And there's a house listed that's the same model as ours because we built here, and it's going for 80K more than we bought for. And I'm like, what? and that's crazy. And I thought it would go up a little in 14 years, but not like it did. And so we're anyway. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So basically, you sell out on top, buy in when the bottom.
There you go. Yep. I bought last time it crapped out in like 2013 or whatever, and Austin just was on fire this year, so it became a too good to pass up, and it's just me. So I mean, I can make my way around for a while, and all good things must come to an end, and so just wait for another opportunity.
Speaking of, did you see the movie the Big Short?
I have not seen it, but I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, Ann and I sat down and watched that the other night. Fantastic movie. Some pretty good actors. It told the story, broke down the fourth wall to tell you what they're talking about or what it is. I well put together, highly recommended. It's one of those movies I didn't hear about when it came out. It was like later on I found out about it and I was watching it, and then I said, well, we got to watch this, and we sat down and watched it one evening, and it's like, yeah, it's a pretty good movie. Highly recommended. So it's called The Big Short, talking about the housing financial collapse of 2008,
2007 and 8.
Yeah. Matter of fact, kind of like you, we dumped our stocks and bought the house. So the stock market was up, the housing market was down.
That's the way to do it.
We dumped our stocks, put it. It's not like I was telling Ann, yeah, I look like a genius now. No, it was just the timing of everything, and I'm like, okay, let's put it in there, and all of a sudden, stocks drop like a rock, and then the housing, went down a little, but now it's gone back up. So, I'm a regular.
When it was down and we could buy, so we bought pretty well.
Yeah, I'm like a regular Milton Friedman here.
Yeah.
Actually, does anyone know who Milton? You know who Milton Friedman is, right?
You got me. I'm smiling politely.
Okay. Yeah.
He's an economist.
He was a communist. He's passed away.
Economist, not communist.
Yeah, economist. Oh yeah, he's the farthest thing from a communist. He had a series on.
He's in the realm of Thomas Sowell.
Matter of fact, Thomas Sowell was a student of his.
Was a student of Milton Friedman.
Milton Friedman. University of Chicago. I know he got his master's there, but he went back to teach for many years. Also got Nobel Prize for economics. And he had a series on PBS called The Time of not the Time to Choose, Power of
The Time of Choosing.
No, that's Ronald Reagan's speech.
That's Ronald Reagan's speech. Never mind. Sorry.
It's Milton Friedman. Look him up. Actually, when a big fan of his because he's about supply economics and that wonderful stuff. All about supply chain economics. He would
have a field day with what's going on right now.
Oh my God, he's like he'd be going, "I told you so." So when every 4th of July we go somewhere, right? And couple of years ago, we went to DC, and it turned out it was like the hottest night or hottest week in DC. It was like, when it's a swamp too, right, for 4th of July. And so we're in the Smithsonian, right? And we're just wandering around, and all of a sudden I'm like, what's this? And I look, and it's Milton Friedman's briefcase. I'm like, oh. And I'm like, get a picture with this. And I'm like, I'm like getting down there with the briefcase and stuff. And everyone's like, who's that nut? And what do you care about that briefcase for? I'm like, oh, Milton Freeman, his wife would put his lunch in there. Come on.
I mean, how could you pass that up?
Yeah. It actually turns out the Milton Freeman Foundation is actually here in Indianapolis.
No.
I just, well, it's because a friend of his who was entrusted to start it is from Indy. So it's just, little trivia things.
All right.
But okay.
Well, back to your game.
Yeah.
You're
So-
losing them.
I know. That's okay.
Losing them.
Yeah. Well, we
I
didn't
mean,
have
they're
to
pretty
finish it.
hardcore if they're around for.
They'll watch later, and then see why were they talking so long. But Jake, you did ask for, okay, when I told you we were going to do a kind of a tribute to Meatloaf, you asked for a song.
Yeah.
So
My favorite Meatloaf song is "Paradise" by the Dashboard Light. So
Okay.
So
Alrighty.
by the way, we have to do covers.
We have to do covers, but this is a very
Otherwise,
good
we
cover.
get strikes.
Are they coming after us? This is a band called Blue Jester, and they did a very nice job on this.
Yep. And
Oops. I'm sorry. Hold on a second. I gotta stop.
we're gonna do commentary. I'll do commentary. By the way, unless you're 21, most bars close with this song.
1 second. Hold on. I gotta.
As she's, it's either this song or closing time for some strange reason.
Closing.
Yeah, which by the way is nothing.
I have to kind of adjust things because I had us. Never mind. Never mind. I won't explain.
Yeah, it's okay. They don't care. Yesterday.
And all the kids at school, they'll wish they'll be that night. And I will not let the whole soul put in tight. And never felt so good, and never felt so alright. And the floor at the middle of the edge of the night. Floor at the middle of the edge of the night. Come on, hold tight. Come on, hold tight. Love is cold and lonely, deep dark night. I can see paradise by the dashboard light.
That brings back memories.
ain't no doubt about it.
17, we were barely dressed.
Ain't no doubt about it, baby, it's going shine. Ain't no doubt about it, we were very blessed. We were
Barely 17 and barely dressed.
baby, let's heal our heart. You got to drive it out the radio. I've been waiting so long for you to come without the house.
You don't have enough sugar booms these days.
So you never gonna regret it. So but I'll be alright, but I'll be surprised. You'll be alright. Go and you wanna run. And I want it all so take time. It never felt so good, it never felt so right. And the devil has to be on the edge of the night. Devil has to be on the edge of the night. Come on, hold tight. Come on, hold tight.
It's basically a Broadway.
Love is good, lonely, deep night.
Do my karaoke.
See paradise by the dashboard lights. It's cold and lonely in the deep dark night.
Paradise
Paradise
by
by
the
the dashboard lights. If you do it again, and it's finally to do it, ain't no
Like, we're going all the way where?
He didn't make any songs that were less than like 8 minutes long.
What are you talking about? I don't know. Oh, it's a baseball game.
Is this the one that starts with the motorcycle revving for like the first 5 minutes of the song?
Yeah.
Or is
Here's the windup, and there he goes. The windup he's trying to third. There's the throws in the dirt. See? Oh, the catch, stolen base. Pretty big lead out there now, almost there to try and pick him off. Pitcher passes over. He's bunted down the third base line. Two sides, he's on. Here's the throw. Here's the play. Holy cow, he's gonna make it.
Stop right now!
I gotta know right now, before we go any further, do you love me? Will you love me forever? Do you need me? Will you never leave me? Will you make me so happy for the rest of my life? Will you take me away? Will you make me your wife? Do you love me? Will you love me forever? Do you need me? Will you never leave me? Will you make me so happy?
Stay strong, Meatloaf.
Will you take me away?
Don't do it.
Will you make me your wife? I gotta know right now. Before we go any further, do you love me? Will you love me forever? And
Let me sleep on it. Baby, let me sleep on it. Sleep on it. That's in the morning. Sleep on it. Baby, let me sleep on it. Sleep on it. Baby, that's in the morning.
Let me sleep on it. Baby, let me sleep on it. Let me sleep on it. I'll give you an answer in the morning. I gotta know right now, will you love me forever? Will you need me? Will you never leave me? Will you make me so happy for the rest of my life? Will you take me away? Will you make me your body? We gotta know right now. Before we go any further, do you love me? Will you love me forever? What's it gonna be, boy? Come on, I can wait all night. What's it gonna be, boy? Yes or no?
Yes.
What's it gonna be, boy? Yes or no? Let me sleep on it.
Baby, let me sleep on it.
Let me sleep on it. I got an answer in the morning. I gotta know right now. Let me sleep on it. Will you love me forever? Let me sleep on it. Will you never leave me? Let me sleep on it. I got an answer in the morning. Before we go any further, will you love me forever? Let me sleep on it. Will you love me forever? Let me sleep on it. Will you love me forever? Take it any longer. I was crazy.
Weak Meatloaf.
Until I got was great. Love you till the end of time. Love you till the end of time. Now I'm signing.
Until the end of time. Nothing more that I can do.
If I have to live with you, I'll be alive. Living my promise, never taking my vow.
God only knows what I can do right now.
So much better than it is today. It was long ago, it was long ago. So much better than it is today. It was long ago, it was long ago. So much better than it is today. It was long ago, it was long ago. So much better than it is today.